Welcome again, everyone. So happy you're here. And yeah, okay. So, what I'm welcoming you to right now is a business training, one of our business training sessions that's brought to you by the Dream Incubator. And the Dream Incubator, if you didn't know, is an online community of coaches and trainers and healers that's designed to act as an incubator. That's a safe and nurturing space to develop, test, and prove the effectiveness of your marketing so that when you launch your marketing campaign in a bigger way outside of the Dream Incubator, you can be confident that it will succeed because you have already tested and proven it to be effective. Great or great. Yes, awesome. So to learn more about the Dream Incubator, you can just go to dreamincubator.academyofthriving.com/community. That's our website. And check that out. So today we're really excited because I have a very special guest, and that is visibility coach Sara. And she is going to help you figure out the very best marketing tools and strategies for you to use to become more visible. And how can you figure out what is best for you? That is what Sara is really, really awesome at helping everyone with. And so, welcome, Sara, and please jump in, and it's your show now.
Thank you so much. So I am here in the UK. I'm right in the middle of the UK, in a quite a rural town, and it is pitch dark at just after 7 p.m. because we're very much in autumn at the moment. So just to give you a little bit of context, hence all the lights are on behind me. But it's a beautiful time of the year, as I'm sure it is at fall time for you guys. But I'm really, thank you. I'm really grateful to Samia for having me share this with you. And please ask as we go. I'm not one for just bombarding you full of information. I want you to be able to take this session in, process what thoughts come up for you, and start to explore how you can implement, because it's in that space, it's the action space, not the considered learning space, that the beautiful things happen. Yes, we need to take on information. Yes, we need to learn, and we need to be receptive, but we then need to try and test these things out. So if you have any questions at all, I know that Samia will keep an eye on the chat. So please stop me, please ask, and make the most of this session for you. You've committed your time to this, and I'm very much going to do the same. So if I can serve you in a way of being able to answer your questions, then I'm more than happy to do that. So we're going to be together for, depending on how many questions we get and which, where the conversations go, but around about 50 to 60 minutes. As I say, please ask as we go. There isn't like a section at the end where you need to keep all your questions and to right to the end. So let's dive in. Oh good, I've got a beep. Hold on, there we go. What are we going to cover today? What are we going to be talking about? So I am, as Samia said, I'm a visibility coach, which came about through my own journey, but I want to be really clear about visibility and what that means to your business and the difference that it can bring to you and those that you need to connect with and serve ultimately. So we're going to talk about why you should create a visibility strategy if you don't have one or something of some sort already, and why this is the secret to the success of your business and your ability to have that amazing impact on the world. As we said in the intro, the critical part is you. You are the linchpin in all of this, and you and your uniqueness has to become the center point of your strategy. And I'm going to explain why that is as we go through today. I'm going to show you and talk to you how to be seen, be heard, and then ultimately be signed, because again, it's about implementation. It's about exploring these ideas for yourself and then being able to put them into practice within your business. You need to make a differentiation around when to be visible, because it's not always about volume. It's not always about being everywhere and everything to everyone. Being much more strategic and much more specific with the way that you show up can make a huge amount of difference. So we're going to cover that. And then making that visibility of yours work for you. So yours will be unique just in the same way as your business will be unique. So that's what we're going to cover today. Okay, so who am I and why should you care about what I have to say? So as a visibility coach, I work specifically with women who are wanting a big impact, but most of the time they come to me because they're frustrated that they're not reaching or then winning and working with the amount of clients that they know they can impact. So they've probably got a good idea of who they want to serve. They have maybe built programs, they've built courses, but they're just not seeing those people coming to them in enough volume to really make that difference. I spent 20 years before I did set up my own business, 20 years in corporate roles of lots of different job titles, but fundamentally everything I did was based on building relationships. It was based on building trust, becoming knowledgeable in my field, and a trusted advisor. So that sometimes ended up being sales, sometimes it was account management, sometimes it was management of people within the business. But in one way or another, it was always about the people for me. I now offer bespoke programs. I predominantly work one-to-one, but I do a few times a year do group programs as well. But principally, it's about building those strategies specifically for that person, their personality, and exactly where they are and where they want to get to in their business. And I truly believe that all women have a superhero within them. And it's one that stands with their hands on their hips, stands proud, and can share their message with those that need to hear it. And actually, in us doing that, we make a difference in a much bigger way, not just through the people we serve, but through our family and through every interaction we have. When we're truly standing in our truest self, whether or not it's passing the time of day with somebody you're buying a newspaper from, or serving somebody at your highest level, you are making an impact in the world. And that ripple effect is so, so important. So now you know a little bit more about me. I have 2 sons on a very personal level. I have 2 little boys, 7 and 9. I also have 2 spaniels. So if you hear any snoring in the background, it's because they are behind me fast asleep. And one of them is prone to a little bit of a snore every now and again. So it will be them, not me, if you hear them. Okay, let's dive in then. So what is a visibility strategy? And the word strategy can tend to make people go one way or the other. Sometimes it makes people go, yes, I love having a plan, I love having a strategy. And other times, particularly if, like me, you've been bombarded by the word strategy in maybe a corporate role or as an employee, it can end up making you think, oh, not one of those again. That's the reason I left that environment. I wanted to allow my business to flow and to have a creativity around it. I don't want to be restricted by something called a strategy. But actually, a visibility strategy is more than marketing. Marketing for me is really about making sure that there's a presence, but very much with a sale in mind. Visibility, for my definition, is about having that ability to take your message out there to the world without assuming that a sale will always follow. Now, why would you want to do that? You might say, you're in business. Why would you waste your time by just taking your message out there for the sake of it? I heard this explained in the most beautiful way quite early on in my coaching career, and I want to share this analogy with you. So you imagine that as somebody who serves, you have a serving pot and you have a reward pot. And we need to top up that serving pot first, because the reward pot is attached to your serving pot with a little spout, but you can only get the reward by filling up your serving pot first. So the more we serve, the more we show up, the more we add that value to the world, the more you're filling that serving pot, so that when you have accrued that service credit, maybe we could call it, then it's going to overflow into your reward pot. You can't fill your reward pot up first. And when I first started, I was frustrated that I wasn't immediately getting clients, but I hadn't had any success. I hadn't built any trust. I hadn't got the knowledge or the expertise. All I got was a hope and a vague promise that I was going to be able to help people. But by serving and by making that difference, you are making that element fill, and then you will end up with that reward. So visibility for me means sharing without that agenda. It's not that aggressive, here I am to share, now are you going to buy from me? Because the minute we step into that energy, we create the expectation. It's almost a trade-off in the relationships of, well, if I give you this, then you have to therefore give me this. And no relationship should be based on that. It should be based on giving first. We give to then receive ultimately, but it might be further down the line. So a long-winded way of explaining that your visibility strategy may not always literally result in a sale. So for me, it shouldn't be formulaic. It shouldn't be a tick box, a checklist, follow this route, do this, do this, do this, do this. It should be all about you. It should start with you and what you feel called to do in terms of how to show up. And we're going to come on to lots of different potential ways that you can show up. But if it doesn't start with you, then it makes it really difficult for you to continue and consistently do what you're going to do. So I want you to think about a visibility strategy as being a way to actually stamp your personality on what you do, in the same way as you will with your expertise. So you can show up just totally as yourself. You can show up, wearing whatever you would normally wear. You can show up with makeup on, without makeup on, in a field, at your breakfast bar, at your dining room table, in an office situation, that you're not ending up almost trying to create a persona that isn't actually your personality, that you can be totally true to yourself. And the beautiful way of including this in your approach is it becomes repeatable. And once you can end up repeating something, that's where we can start to see some predictable results. So if you've built it based on you, it's a preference, it's an enjoyable process for you to turn up, and then you start to get those predictable results. And I want you to get excited. I want you to get that feeling of, I can't wait to share this message. I can't wait to do this thing that I've chosen as one of my routes, one of my channels to reach my people. The last thing I want anyone to do when they're running their own business and looking to connect with people is be sitting thinking, oh, I've got to write that post, or oh, I've got to do that, oh, I've got to go live, and oh, I've got to this, I've got to, I should, and all of this language. You're not showing up in the right energy if you've got any of that, as opposed to how I felt this afternoon when I knew I'd got this coming up. I can't wait to share. It excites me. I'm passionate about what I do, and I love sharing my message. And that's how you should feel about everything. Like I'm not going to kid you that every single day I bounce out of bed and go, yay, I get to this. But more often than not, I do, because I've been honest enough with myself to say, that thing that I've tried, I don't enjoy. I don't feel like it's me. So actually, I'm not going to do it anymore. So we can really start to be a little bit more independent. Let's not follow the crowd. Let's actually create our own space. So when we've got to that point, we have to keep it as being us. And the reason why it has to be us, because there are formulas. Now, these are tried and tested, and there will be many gurus, many people that have made millions in business that say, yeah, but if you follow a route that's been tried and tested, you can repeat it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can literally just learn as you learn quicker, because you're taking from somebody else. And that's true. But there could be two people who have exactly the same business offer. They have the exact same niche, but what they aren't is the same individual. They're not the same person. So anyone that trains or advocates a model that says you should this, they're mostly saying it because that's worked for them. And the reason it's worked for them is because of their experience, their personality, their motivations, their goals that they're aiming for. They aren't you. So it's about finding something that's just right for you. So it is. We have a phrase in our house, particularly with my children, where we say, oh, it's all about you, isn't it? Because they're 7 and 9, and frankly, it is all about them. But in this case, it's all about you. So when you like something, you want to repeat it, don't you? If you like chocolate, it's not just a once in a lifetime event, isn't it? You want it again. So when you find something that's fun, that you enjoy, you look to be able to recreate it and you want to do it again. When you have fun doing something, it shines through. And oh my gosh, the reverse is true as well. When you don't and you're pushing yourself to do it anyway, that shines through just as much. And again, I'm not picking on this from any judgmental perspective, but I've tried to do the short videos, the reels, and I kind of felt a little bit of resistance before I started. I didn't feel it was necessarily my style. But I thought, no, I'm going to give it a go because I'm exploring different avenues and I should be playful and curious. I'll give it a go and I'll create the thing. I could almost feel myself just going, oh, no. But I finished it and I looked at it and I edited it. It just wasn't me. And the same might be true for live video for you. The same might be true for speaking. The same might be true for you writing, whatever the thing is. If it isn't fun after a little bit of practice, it maybe isn't you. So find that thing that's fun and let your light shine through that. And when you start to see results, your motivation increases. Anyone who might have been on any kind of health kick or weight loss journey knows the single most motivating factor is when you can start to either see the number drop on the scales or you feel a little bit more comfortable in the clothes that you're wearing. And suddenly you'll go, yes, I want to go again. So as soon as you start to see the results coming through, maybe you're bringing more people towards you, maybe you're getting more engagement, maybe people reaching out to you saying, I love that thing you did. You want to go again and you want to repeat it. And that's that operational level you want to sit at. You want to do it again. It's working. It's repeatable. You have fun doing it. Like, it's a short window while we're here. Why force yourself to do something that isn't you? So that piece at the end there, unless you love it, then you need to make it count. So really, really, I implore you. There are so many routes, which we're going to talk about. Some of them we're going to scratch the surface on, finding your routes. But please don't fall down the route of I should, or I need to, or I've got to, or someone told me I have to. No, there was a world before social media. There was a huge amount of industry and commercial success before social media. So, this principle of, everyone has to be everywhere, it's not necessarily true. It's just the way the world is starting to think now. Samia, are we okay? Have we had any questions?
We don't have questions, but Asad just said he agrees with what you were just sharing.
Fabulous. That's good. Okay, so let's get into some practicals now. So hopefully I've set the scene. I by the sounds of it, you're on board with me. You get that it's got to be you. You get that it's got to be fun. That you're gonna show up in a much more energetically aligned way if you're enjoying it. So let's look at some real specifics. So I talk about and when I support my clients, we look at seen, heard, and signed, because they're the three big pillars that we can start with in terms of our visibility strategies. So I've taken, I guess, my top line of each of those strategies. And at the end, we're going to share with you a way that you can get hold of 50, there's more than 50 methods of potentially being seen and getting yourself visible. You can download that totally for free off my website, so that it just starts to get you thinking about some additional ways that you might want to explore to get yourself visible. So in terms of being seen, live video is the obvious one, and live video has got a huge amount of benefit. You are connecting with me, I'm connecting with you right now. You're hearing the way that I speak, you're hopefully hearing my enthusiasm, my knowledge, the passion I have on my subject. You're able to literally interact with me. I've only got the chat box off just because it's kind of half my screen otherwise, but we can literally connect with one another across the globe in an instant through live video. Video is really powerful because of all of those things. We can, we're human beings. We want to see somebody's face. We want to see them move and explain things to us, to look at us. But live adds that whole additional dimension that we can actually interact with people. And it feels good. It feels good to be able to make that connection with somebody. So if you can, and if you feel called to explore the live process, I would implore you to, because it's so powerful and it's quick. That connection is quick. Your brand image, so how you show up, how you're representing yourself out there in the world, should be consistent. And again, allow that to speak for you. So I've recently rebranded and I've started to use some different colours, some different imagery, and none of it's accidental. There are pieces behind the colours, there's meanings behind every part of my branding and my imagery. So think about how you want to be seen. So if you're somebody who is going to be helping people with mindfulness, then you're probably going to want something which reflects a level of calm, and make sure it's kind of reflecting your message as opposed to countering the message. And get some feedback, show it to people. What does this mean to you? What would you say that I do? Guest speaking, here I am walking my talk, sharing my knowledge with you. Guest speaking can reach so many different audiences, and people who hold platforms where they're teaching, they're learning, they're giving expertise will very often thank you for helping them to impart knowledge with their audience. They don't necessarily want to fill every hour of content themselves, and equally they're probably an expert in their field and your expertise might complement their own. So don't be afraid to ask. If you're part of a group that maybe does this, where you're sharing knowledge, don't be afraid to put your hand up and say, actually, I've got something worth sharing. Could I? Would that be beneficial to your audience? This is what I might share. And agree with them up front whether or not you've got something you could give away or can you promote, and just be human about it. Networking is a great way of starting those relationships, and again, it depends on how the networking meetings are run, but again, they're great ways of starting to hear what other people are pitching and how they're positioning their offers, and it gives you a little bit of research as well. Pre-recorded video or audio can be really powerful. Again, we can make that connection, we can hear the tones of the voice, we can really get a flavour for somebody by hearing them. But if you're able to, move it into video is all I would always say. Written copy still absolutely has its place, and I think as just a basic human nature, our ability to have taught ourselves a language and be able to read will stay with us forever. There are still millions and millions of books and physical books still being printed. So don't underestimate or assume that written copy has gone. Now, you don't have to be an amazing copywriter to be able to write something. All I will say is just connect with yourself and write from the heart. Imagine you're talking to your ideal client and literally genuinely talk to them. Do a little mini speech about something that's on your mind or something that you think they need to hear that day. It doesn't have to be long and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just get something written down and then share it. Magazines often have lots of pages to fill, be them physical pages in a printed copy or be it online. And again, they're often looking for people to bring an expert opinion or share some knowledge with their readership. So you've got to be brave and say, I've got something of value to share. Do you mind if I submit something? Or, here's something I've created. This could be of use to your readers. So do a little bit of research and find out who they're looking to appeal to. And if it's the same person as you are, make the offer. Blogs are a great way of being able to host something on your side, and again, being able to share your knowledge, being able to keep people up to date with what's going on in your world and show that little bit of personality as well. So again, don't be afraid to tell them something business related, talk to them about what you do, but then also include the human side of, this is genuine, by the way. I was recording a podcast the other day and one of my dogs was snoring so loud we had to stop recording. So, it's just you being another human being. No one is expecting you to be perfectly polished and just show up for business all the time. So, be a rounded being. So that second column, heard. So this is just much more of the audio. And literally since I have created this slide, I've seen a new function on Facebook, which has been in the last 2 days, called audio rooms, which I guess is kind of a spin-off to Clubhouse approach of literally having rooms created where you can have a discussion, but there's no camera, it's just simply audio. So clearly the market generally feels as though there is a space for that, which I get, because sometimes I want to listen to something that isn't just a podcast, but it's a discussion, it's a debate, and it brings in different expertise. Sometimes I want to hop in and listen, but I don't want to be on camera because I'm washing up or running the bath for the kids, or I'm walking the dogs. So I'm listening, but I'm not necessarily wanting to be on camera. So, audio is a great option now. Podcasts, they fall into that. So again, that could be your own podcast. It could be being featured on one. It could be being interviewed. It could be you being part of a panel. There's lots and lots of different ways where airtime, again, is looking to be filled on audio. You can give a presentation. You could pre-record a presentation and really perfect it if you want to, so that it's exactly how you want it to be. And then you can offer that to people and say, well, it's yours to use as you need. And whether or not you're going to include some kind of reference or a call to action at the end, you agree that with the person that you're sending it to. I'm going reverse order. I don't know why on this blocks. Conferences. So here in the UK, we opened up our kind of meeting in face-to-face again in July. And I straight away got in there and went to a conference and was a guest speaker, which was just such a nice environment to be in, although slightly less numbers than there probably would have been pre-COVID, but we were all in a room, we were able to share an energy, we were able to learn and just to be again. And I think there is that craving now starting to come back for personal contact and being in the same room. So whether it's speaking or whether it's going and being part of something, but again, you've got to find where these are that are associated to your business, your niche, your part of the world, and put your name down. Suggest it. You don't have to be a polished, super public speaking expert to be able to share your knowledge and share your thing. And there are many people who stand up and do their TED Talks who have never spoken in public before. So you can do it. Again, it's trying these things out. And then YouTube and video, they kind of tie in together. So that might be a channel of your own. That might be being part of somebody else's channel. Again, panels, being featured as a guest on a series of something. But YouTube is still a very much growing platform for video, both hosting and also, bringing people together through subscriber lists. So, think about using that as a complement maybe to another channel, or tying the two in together. If you're creating a video for your social media, there's no reason why you can't pop it into a YouTube channel and repurpose it so people on that platform will find you as well. The final bubbles then is around being signed. And this is where we start to look at the little bit more business, the practical sense. So this is where we need to start thinking about how and when we make some offers, because it's great turning up and doing all of these things, sharing our knowledge, filling up our serving pot. But at some point, we have to make an offer. We have to make it clear that for us to serve at our highest and for that person to get the deepest transformation, yes, they can get lots of knowledge from listening to whatever you've provided as maybe a free knowledge share, but actually ultimately the true transformation lies in them coming and working with you through whatever route it is you're offering. So being clear on what you offer is really important. Being clear on who that offer is for, because it shouldn't be for everyone. It should be for a specific type of person to get a very specific outcome. Know that when you get into conversations with people, you are moving that conversation forward. And again, don't be afraid to almost allow yourself to say, I think I can help you more, or are you interested in hearing about what I do? Because based on what you've told me, I really think I could. The more conversations you get into, the more feedback you get. I did a live literally today and talked about my top 5 methods, and one of mine was connection conversations. And I have a number of times in my diary every week where I just allow them for connections. So I go into those without any prior agenda or expectation. And it's amazing what's come out of some of those. So I've created collaborations. I have become a client in some. I've won clients. I've met people who I've just had a really enjoyable half an hour with, and then we've gone on our way. It's just that two people holding a space for one another and sharing whatever's going on for them at any one moment. And I will be led very much by my intuition, in fact, of being able to say, actually, there's something about this person that is making me want to reach out. So let's have a conversation. Those are very different calls, by the way, to something which is more like a making offer call, because everyone knows that they're going into that. And I always make it very clear that this is a call to talk about whether or not we're right to work together versus a call just to have a chat, or have a cuppa, as we would say here in the UK, have a cup of tea and a chat. To be signed, you need to nurture those relationships. So if you know that somebody has come into your world and you believe you can help them, but the time isn't right for either of you at that time, then don't just let them go by the wayside. Keep showing up for them. Keep checking in every now and again. You're not being aggressively in their face by checking in and finding out how they're doing 3 months later. You're nurturing them and the relationship that you've created with them. And when the time's right, if the time becomes right, then they could change their mind and work with you. So even if I have a sales conversation with someone and it's not right for them at the time, they don't just get a big black mark across their name and taken off my list. I'll check in with them again in future and see how they're doing against their goals, see how they are, how well they're doing or not. And many have come back to me a little while further along. Giving value, as we said, that's very much in the serving part. And listen, you've got to listen. So whether you're in these conversations, whether you're watching a discussion maybe on a post that really resonates for you or your ideal person, take it in. Don't assume that your learning is done. Don't assume that your expertise is at its peak. You were always learning, and we have to show that we're listening to what people need and adapting to that. So sales for me always starts with listening and allowing that person to explain where they are, because to be able to sell to them, you've got to go over to their side of the fence first to then show them over to your side and show them how things can look different. So you do that through listening every single time. I'm going to take a drink. Any questions?
Not right now.
Cool. I can see a couple of comments popping up. Welcome to whoever's just joined. Okay, so let's talk about, I want to give you something really practical to take away. So this is one of those where I want you to have a pen and paper, because it's all very well me saying, show up, share your messaging, do all of this stuff. But the next thing that most people say to me is, okay, that's great, Sarah, I'm bought in, I'm on board with you. Like, yes, come on, let's do this. And then they go, but I never know what to say, or I run out of ideas as to what to share, or I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. So these are my 3 pillars, and I've used this on a very frequent basis in my business in a very non-technical way. So when I create my content, and there are times when I still do this, I'll get a piece of paper and I'll fold it up into squares, and then when I unfold it, I have a series of squares across my paper, and I'll write the days of the week across, and the probably normally a 2-week block. And I will use educate, inspire, and sell as prompts for different posts. So principally, when you sit with this and you're thinking about what to share, then firstly, don't force it, because nothing will come, will it? It's like, as soon as you put that time in the diary, I will write some content, you'll have a brain freeze. So allow yourself to be in a good place. Generally, you're feeling okay, you're feeling pretty relaxed, you've not got a million one things running around in your head. And sit with that thought of, who is it you're looking to talk to? Who's the person? Who is your ideal person that your message needs to reach? Who is it that needs to hear what you have to say today? And what do they need to really understand and learn? Because what are they going through at the moment that maybe they're struggling with, or they'd like to feel different about, or they want to move past, or they want to solve, or what is the big thing at the moment? Because it starts with connecting with them, and then allowing our expertise and our solutions, our processes to come from that place. And if we do that in that rotation of, some posts can be to educate, so to genuinely impart your knowledge. And by the way, this doesn't have to be complex. I'm not asking you to turn all geeky and go super scientific on your subject, because, by the way, we can have that tendency to do that, can't we? When we're experts in our field, we go, right, I want to just educate you on everything. You need to know all this stuff. They don't, not at this stage. They need to know a little tiny nugget. So you're looking to give them some sort of, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Or, oh, I'd never thought of that. That's always where I come from. You're looking to give them some inspiration. And for me, a big part of the inspiration is helping them to develop that belief that they can achieve their goal. We've all seen those, and I keep going back to weight loss, not because it's particularly resonating with me, but because it really sparks the emotions, and it's often quite an emotive subject. But we've all seen those stories where it's almost like that personal, I was here and now I'm here, and it's that before picture and the after picture, and them telling, oh, you know, I lost 50 pounds and now I feel like a totally new person, and I'm able to this and I'm the other. And I'm just a normal person. You know, gone are those days where we just accept the marketing blurb without a little bit of background. So by being able to give that person the belief that you don't have to be a super expert to achieve the thing you're looking. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be starting from this point. That actually, whatever it is you're selling is accessible to anybody. They need that self-belief, because we end up sabotaging ourselves so many times and saying, oh, well, it's all right for her to say this, she blah, blah, blah. It's all right for them to say that they've done that because they blah, blah, blah. And we fill in all those gaps. And it might be because she's got blonde hair, or because she's this, because she's American, because she... And we fill in total rubbish about why they've ended up achieving the thing and therefore you can't. So giving them the inspiration that they can achieve their goal is really important. And again, it might be your story. It might be a story from a client. It might be a story out there in the press where you can see that it relates to what you do as well. And then the final piece is around selling. And oh my gosh, the amount of times that clients have come to me and we look at their approach of posting and they forget to sell. And it's, when you look at it, it kind of sounds obvious. Of course you would be selling. If you're in business, you've got to sell. But there's something about a heart-centered business person who is really looking to create transformation, to make that impact in the world, that there can often be a conflict when it comes to selling. And there's no need for there to be, and we're not going to go into solving why we end up struggling with sales in this session, but allowing yourself to step into a place where you say to yourself, to be able to serve at my highest, to be able to allow that person to have the best transformation they possibly can, I have to sell, because it has to be a fair exchange. I can't give my time and my energy to somebody who isn't allowing me to benefit from that either, because it's just going to drain me. And I need to fill myself up, my energy levels, my cup, my bank account, to be able to pay my bills and do the other things in my life. So by just constantly giving content that makes people think they can create a self-solution and self-heal or fix it and really go, I'll just apply that thing you told me, isn't serving at its highest level. So allowing yourself to be consciously selling in a way that suits you, and everyone is going to have their own style, but making the offers, making it clear that you're not just sharing stuff because you're passionate about it, that actually this is your business, or this is something which people can move on and they can therefore buy something from you. Really important. So by having that folded piece of paper and having these squares, I would put in the corner, that's going to be an educate, that's going to be an inspire, and that's going to be a sell. And it sort of becomes really obvious as to how to mix them up together, that once you've said to yourself, okay, so if that one's going to be a sell post, then maybe an inspire comes before, and that then works really well with the sell. And before you know it, you've kind of got a plan as to how you can turn up. And of course, then we look back at the previous, you choose how you're turning up. You might be writing, you might be doing a podcast, you might be, and there's no frequency around these. So, but it gives you that rotation of saying, you can buy from me here, and you know you can achieve these results, and did you know? So allowing yourself to actually step into that. So I hope that has given you something practical to start looking and thinking about your content. So a really quick recap. Building a visibility strategy has to excite you. There is no point in downloading another PDF that says, here's how to go from 0 to 10K in 20 minutes. Or, and I'm being flippant, but I feel like that's all I see on my feed. And it frustrates me because if it worked for them, brilliant, but it may not work for you. It has to be about you. It has to excite you so that you can do it persistently, consistently, and from the heart, emotionally, you can turn up and actually do your thing truly as you, genuinely as you. You need to be really clear on your person. And by your person, I mean, who's going to get the best out of what you do? Who's going to get the result that you want them to get? Not the person who maybe might benefit a little bit. Well, they're probably not going to see the benefits. They're probably not going to pay you for it. Who is that person that you would just, you'd see them in your diary and you go, oh, yes, I can't wait to work with them because they are a X, Y, Z. For me, it's people that are an action taker. They're ready to get those results. They know what they're after, but they've just got some missing pieces of the jigsaw. And I'll look and I'll think, yes, I can't wait to get these results for them. Who is that person for you? Not what do they read? Do they have a cat? How many bedrooms have they got in their house? What's their personality like? Because you're going to spend some time with them probably. So you've got to enjoy that relationship too. In finding your best way, it is not a single land on that, there we go, now repeat it, and it's going to work. You have to accept that with anything to do with marketing, it's an experimentation, it's a testing. And I've highlighted that word play because there's not many people who in business, or certainly I wouldn't have in my corporate years ever heard anybody say the word play. I remember there was a brief time where our training department had, obviously they've done their own training and they've been told that if you have things for people to sort of touch and fiddle with, that if you're a kinesthetic learner, I think that's the right word, that actually that the messages are going to go in better if you're messing around with something. So they've got all these little like fidget toys on the table. That was the only element of play I ever saw in my corporate days. But when you're in a more free environment, when you're working for yourself, it is about experimenting. So like I say, I tried to create a reel. It probably took me a day and a half to do like 15 seconds of video. But would I do it again? Maybe, if someone helped me a bit with the technology. But it's about experimenting. It's about having a curious mind as opposed to a closed mind of this is how I do it and I'm in business. It's got to be very serious. No, it hasn't. There's somebody that I follow who's a PR expert, PR coach, and she turned up one day with, she was doing a live video and she was really self-conscious about her hair and her roots. So she grabbed the nearest thing she could, which she thought was a scarf, to like put around her hair. It turned out to be a pair of knickers. And she went live with a pair of knickers on her head. That has now become like her brand, like to the point where like that is her photo now with a pair of like very nice, very pretty knickers. But yeah, it's, you know, let's none of us take ourselves too seriously. Yes, it's business, but we're still human beings as well. So explore and play. Build your confidence as you go. You can't expect to be polished, finished, the perfect copywriter, the perfect video, the perfect presenter, the public speaker, the this, the other. You're probably amazing, and I'm more than expecting that you're amazing at the thing that you do. So you might be an amazing healer, an acupuncturist, whatever you are, but that doesn't then mean you're good at growing your business or doing your marketing. I certainly wasn't. I was great at nurturing relationships, and then the other bits I've kind of learned as I've gone along. But as you're building your confidence, don't forget that action trumps perfection. So do not stay in that place where you're perfecting before you go out into the world, because you'll get better so much quicker just by getting on and doing it. And then the final point, going back to the lady with the knickers on her head, get over yourself. You know, at the end of the day, what is the worst that can happen? And I say this a lot when I train out my the live going live and using live video. the worst thing that can happen for me, if I go live and it goes terribly, is that I turn the camera off, I disconnect, I go and walk out of my room and have a cry and do whatever. And like, I'm still safe. I'm still, you know, yes, I'm a bit upset with myself, or I'm cross, or I'm frustrated, or whatever I am, but there's very rarely occasions where we are truly putting our life on the line when we're going through some kind of marketing or self-promotion. Yeah, it might get a bit uncomfortable and you might get a bit sweaty palmed, but there's always a way out. So, you know, let's have context around it. There are people in this world literally saving lives every single day. So if we're looking to take our business forward and make a difference in the world, and actually it means getting a little bit uncomfortable, it's that payoff, isn't it? So take a deep breath, do the thing, and you'll find most of the time it's never as bad. By the way, I've never had to actually pull the plug and walk out my room crying, but I think I did go live once and ended up finishing it because I said something so ridiculously nonsensical to start with. And stop, but it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. Okay, so final, pull it all together. Consistency is where you're going to find those results. It is no good saying, right, I'm going to do that thing, sending a pitch off to a magazine, them not replying, or you getting a rejection and then going, oh, that's it, I'm done, I'm never going to be able to this. We have to keep at it. We have to get some tenacity into us. So you need to set yourself some goals. Set yourself something which is stretching, and it might be connecting with a certain number of people. It might be having a certain number of conversations. It might be sticking with something for, normally I try and push people to do about 3 months, because if you can do something consistency for 3 months, you can normally incorporate it into your life. So setting yourself those stretching targets. And remembering during that period of time, you're testing, you're playing, you're exploring, you're chilling about, not taking yourself too seriously. But I want you to monitor, because that's where you're going to get the answers. So I've got clients at the moment who are literally monitoring where they're posting, what the post sort of briefly contained, what engagement they got, whether or not it resulted in X, Y, Z. So we almost set goals for it. And it's even doing something as simple as that has brought out that actually that strategy there, just not getting anything. So actually we don't need to do that. Let's move into here. But if you're not monitoring, you're not going to know what is and what isn't working. Like, the single most frustrating thing for me is when a client will say to me, oh, I've got a call booked in the diary. I can't wait to have a conversation with someone who's applied to work with me. I'm like, yeah, brilliant, fantastic, congratulations. Where did they come from? Oh yeah, I don't know. Like, we can ask them, but we should know. We should be able to find that out before then. So defining what you're looking at, that little graphic at the top there, defining what it is you're going to do. You then give it a go. You test and you monitor. You tweak it. You refine it, and then you can start repeating it, and perfecting it as you go. And you can often then start to scale as well once you've got something that is working like a amazingly well-oiled machine. And remember, if you aren't being seen by those who need you, they don't know that you can help. So it isn't just about you saying, oh, I've got to get out there to grow my business. Surely your business is about making a difference to people as well. So they need to know that you're out there so that you can connect with them and make a difference to them. I think I'm ready to take a breath. Okay, yes. So where can you find me? Where can you find out a little bit more about me and who I am? So I am on all the obvious places in terms of social media. If you just search for my name, you will see my profiles all open and you'll be able to connect with me. You can also find me on my website, and on there, straight on the front page, if you just pop your email address in, I am going to send you the free 50 plus ways to be seen for free. So I think I mentioned there's one line in the more than 50 ideas, which is a paid route, but everything else is free, because I totally get it. We haven't got big budgets to be able to put behind a marketing campaign, not when you're first starting. And I'm also going to offer you guys, as long as you tell me you're connecting with me from the Dream Incubator, I'm also going to offer you a free strategy session as well, where we're going to look at your business, we're going to look at your plan, where things aren't happening for you, and you will get the benefit of my knowledge on a direct strategy session as well. as a thank you for being part of my world and listening to me for the last, look at that for timing, near hour. Okay, I'm going to take a pause, take a moment, and hand back to Samia to ask any questions. Did somebody raise their hand?
Yes, we have a raised hand and also a question in the chat. So the question in the chat is, can you please elaborate on being consistent? That question is from Asad. Asad, maybe can you type in a little bit more about what you want elaborated on, what aspect of being consistent you want more information? And in the meantime, Tasneem, maybe we'll go ahead and unmute you and you can ask your question. And then we'll come back to Asad.
Thank you so much, Samia, and thank you, Sarah. That was really, really good. So many gems. I really appreciated that, the energy that you come at. If you're not enjoying it, it can go downstream really well. I mean, really quickly. And I also liked how you said it's about being you. It's about being authentic. Something that I'm sitting with, and I would love your thoughts on, is that balance between you being you and you speaking the language of your clients. So maybe that's going quickly into the marketing versus the visibility, which you made a distinction about. But when would you make that transition, or how do you balance, like, this is how I speak, but maybe the way that my clients speak, or what resonates with them is different than my style?
Can you tell me just really briefly, what's your niche? What do you offer? So across context.
So I I'm help faith leaders and just do a lot of community building work. And what I would love to do is just help more people have the conversations that they're avoiding, they find difficult. But, I don't think people are always thinking about, like, they might have other needs or other things that are on top of mind for them, versus how can I have the conversations I don't want to have.
Yeah. And I think you're not alone in that niche struggling with that. I think particularly where there's real deep-seated emotion involved, or fear, trauma perhaps, that as somebody who is trauma informed or trauma trained to be able to help these people through these transitions, you're already almost on the other side of that fence compared to where they are right now. And what I always say is going to where they are is oh, you keep moving, I'm trying to keep looking at you. Going to where they are is probably your most important almost guide, because trying to bring them into your world before they're ready will be a painful transition for them. They won't be able to relate. They just won't see it, as opposed to making a recognition of what's going on for them right now, where they are right now, and then almost just gently introducing some of this is how it could be. So when I take my clients through a journey of understanding who they want to serve, and then what their offer is going to be for them, how they're going to help them. The piece in between those two is an exercise I call darkness and light, where we talk about who it is you're looking to serve, where are they right now? So what's their dark place? What's going on for them? How are they aware, if they are aware, of what they're potentially experiencing? Or it might be that what they're not experiencing because they haven't seen that light part. And sometimes we have to paint the picture, we have to fill in the gaps for people. So I keep bringing it back to health, but if you think about somebody who helps with nutrition and becoming healthy, if the person you're looking to talk to might be on a route where they could have health problems, end up being diabetic, having heart disease, getting themselves almost worse, sometimes we block these things. We don't see that how if we follow this route and we don't solve our problem, we don't think about the worst case scenario. So sometimes it's really about involving the emotional side of have you considered that this is how it could get worse before it gets better? And you can do it in a sensitive way. I certainly would never subscribe to the school of thought of find the wound and rub salt in it and dig the knife in. I don't like that, and I don't think that's necessary. I think we need to credit human beings with much more intelligence than that. But it's more about gently being able to say through your messaging, this is what might happen and I don't want that to happen to you. This is where this could go and let's avoid that for everybody. And using case studies, using examples where something is then changed and now it's much better on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah, it makes sense. So you're saying that it's just about finding the right moments to bring in the light or to highlight the darkness or just to understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to those three headings of your content and what you put out there, however you share, looks at educating, inspire, and then when the moment's right, selling as well. So you're educating might not always be this, it might not always be good messages. It's about saying we want to avoid this situation for you in the future.
Okay, got it. Hey, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And I have a clarification or rather more context about what Asad was actually wanting to ask you. So he says, I have a website and I'm promoting my book. I want some ideas on how I can maintain a consistent connection with my audience. Some ways how I can serve them on an ongoing basis.
Okay, so consistency is something which often comes up because consistency to one person means something totally different than consistency to somebody else. So without sounding like a politician, I can't tell any one person what's consistent visibility compared to somebody else because a whole heap of additional factors play a part in this. So if this is your sole business and you're running it full time, then how and where you can show up will be different to somebody who is maybe transitioning out of a full-time role and doing this as an additional transitional period. So for me, it's about finding the thing that you can do because you enjoy doing it, going back to what I've already shared, and to allow people to see you often enough that they feel that they're getting to know you. And these things don't always have to take hours of your time. It might be commenting on something. It might be a little short piece. There's technology there to enable us to be present across different places like schedulers and, things that will drop certain publications of some sort into different places at different times. So it's really about what's sustainable for you, what's realistic for you, to allow you to be visible and in the mind of your potential audience without then constantly feeling like you're having to do hours and hours of legwork. And again, almost having a longer term plan around, well, if there's a launch coming up, then your consistency looks different because you almost have to build to a launch, and then you launch, and then you have to continuously support the post-launch communication, as opposed to somebody that might have an evergreen model where you're rolling on a more consistent level basis. So lots of factors to consider in what does consistency mean.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I know I have had this challenge where I put in so much time and effort getting myself to the point of launch and then sort of coming to the other side of the launch and feeling so tired and so exhausted and not having a plan to keep going beyond that. in terms of continuing to be consistent and continuing to build the community with the people that I managed to reach during the launch process.
So true, and it's so common. I've done it absolutely, and I've done a challenge where I was live every day for a week, and every day I was like a 90-minute live, really intensive, took a whole load of energy, and I'd walk out and go. So by the time I got to the day where I was opening the doors, it was like, oh, I've opened the doors, it's amazing. And then I got to the end of the week and I was done. The truth is, on a launch process, you're only halfway, because it is exactly as you say, it's that nurturing. So if you're climbing Everest, you are literally at that base camp at that point. Yes, you've opened the doors, but then the work starts. So there's huge benefits of launching, there's huge benefits of evergreen, but it's got to suit you, it's got to suit your personality, and being able to have everything in place ready for your launch is always crucial. So all your emails pre-written, just your entire plan, get it done, and then sort of don't worry, because then you can turn up totally and energetically in the zone when you're doing the thing, as opposed to then having to then finish and go, right, I better send that email, or I've got to get that thing done. But it very much depends on your personality, what it is you're offering, who the audience is going to be. Both models are just as valid.
Mm-hmm. True. Okay, so I see that some of our people had to drop off because it's just past 12 now. So I have lots more to talk to you about, Sarah. I have questions that I could be asking you, but I think for now we can go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us. I'm so happy that you did. And please check the chat. We have dropped Sarah's link so you can, and I'll do it again, so you can go ahead and connect with her there. For those of you, you can, even if you're seeing on the video, you can see her website. So you can go ahead and connect with her there. Ooh, and Amna says she has registered.
Oh, fabulous.
Yay.
That's lovely. Well, again, thanks for having me. It's been a real pleasure. As I say, I love sharing my passions, and if I can help anybody any further, then I would love to take that conversation into that environment. So thank you, Samia, for having me.
Awesome. I love working with you too, Sarah. You're so awesome. I love it. And by the way, everyone, when you leave the event today, you'll notice a survey pop up on your screen. And if you could just take a minute or two to answer some quick questions about your experience today, that will be really helpful for us to make sure we're able to continue to improve our programs for the future. And yeah, I think that's it for now. I wish you lots and lots of peace and joy until we meet next time.